Okay, I'm going to try to show a video on how to tie frets for a vihuela and what you'll need. And I'm going to try to keep it short, but I want to make sure we include as much information as possible. So you can use a first string or a thinner string. You can find thinner strings, like if you're ordering harp strings, different things like that, thinner tension, lute. But I wouldn't go any thicker than a first guitar nylon string. Okay? You can do them in different colors. That's not as important. You'll need a pair of wire cutters, snippers. If you have like a little flat pair of like pliers or something, that's good. And then you'll need a lighter. Okay? So here's what you need right here. Those 3 items. So what's really important is before you get started, you want to, oh, I guess I should say also you'll need a tuner. So a chromatic tuner is helpful. Here we go. You want to make sure you're not doing this with a brand new set of strings on your instrument. You want to make sure they're already stretched. So if it's a new instrument and you're doing it for the first time, get the strings on there, stretch them. You know, I always say don't, some people do this to stretch a string. They pull it up. That's not a good idea on any instrument like a classical guitar or a vihuela. When you do that, you pull the string up above. You can see how it's now sitting higher than the other ones because you've pulled this up like this. And now that string is sitting higher. I got to push it down. So if you're going to stretch them, just do it like this. That's a good way to stretch the strings, like this. Okay? Okay? Now, I'm going to just replace the first string. If you ever have, like, let's say you broke one and this has only got 4, but let's say, for example, you're wanting to replace this fret. What I would say is you don't have to do this, but maybe replace the one above it or even this one, and then you just slide, you can slide them down and add an extra fret. Okay, so I'm just going to slide these like this. I'll check the intonation on them later, but maybe we'll add 2 on here or something. You see, and I'll check the intonation, but we'll start up at the top. Now, first things first, you should be able to get 2 frets out of every string if you're using a new string. First thing you want to do is tie, not a knot, but just a one once through, like so. Got that? Okay. And then I'm going to pull it somewhat tight, just like that. I'm going to cut off some of the excess right about there, like that. And then I like to do this. I'll pull the knot a little bit tighter so there's just enough room. You can see right there, because I'm going to want to be able to bring the string through there again. But so that it won't slip. And you're not going to hold the string like this because obviously it would burn it up ways. So you hold it to where the flame will melt down like this. And then blow right there. So it's really close to that tie off right there. Okay? And then I always recommend at least running the string through 3 times. So you're going to be running it underneath the strings. You're going to go 1, 2. You can see I had blue strings on here before. And they're going to slide all over the place. I know it might be confusing. I'm not really worried about that, but I'm trying to, for the sake of this video, keep it somewhat where it's not too confusing. 2. And then 1 more time. Underneath. 3. Okay. Bring it through. There we go. Now, I want to make sure the strings are not overlapping one another. So you can see right here, they're 1, 2, 3. They're not crossed over like this. They're all laying side by side towards one another. And then I'm going to pull this to where my knot is really close to the edge right here. Let me see if I can move my hand so you can see what I'm talking about, like that. So you can see the knot is right there on the edge, and I'll turn it. But that's a little better view right there. Okay. Now, from here, if you want to keep that shut, and again, this is easier to do when you're not trying to film it. But now you can see I'm putting that string through that little opening that I left. I'm just going to run it through like this. All right. So now before, you can see the strings are all flat, laying side by side right here. And on the back, you can see if I pull a little bit tight, there's a little bit of an overlap right here. One of the strings is going to have that, but that's okay as long as it's on the back. And I like to try to keep my knot right up about here, not too high up, not down here on the middle where it's going to be rubbing up against the player's hand all the time. So it's roughly about 3/8 of an inch from the bottom of the edge of the fretboard. And then from there, if you want to get a shot right here, you're going to see I'm just going to pull up towards, like up this way, and then I'm going to lean it back and look at that knot is getting tighter. Like that. And now if you think about it, the neck progressively gets wider. So you want to tighten it up a ways. You can do it where the spot is, but then they can tend to loosen. But now from here, anyways, there it is right there. Now, before I slide it down into place, I want to keep it in the tightest position up here. So now I'm going to cut the excess off. And again, you're only going to leave about 1/4 of an inch of the string. Any more, and you're going to end up with a really big melted ball of nylon. And you can see I have enough string left over here to do another one. Now here's the part that's super, super important. When you go to melt this string, you want to make sure the string is pointing up, but you also want to make sure you're not leaning to where you're going to burn your instrument. And God forbid the lacquer catch on fire or anything like that. So you want to angle the instrument and the string to where the flame is drifting away from it. And you can see right there. Give it a second to dry too. Don't touch it to see if it's dry. Don't try to move it too quickly. Just give it a second. It's dry there now. See, I can touch it. But otherwise you do that and then you... So now that we have that, the next thing to do is check your first string and your bottom string tuning. So A, E. And now we're going to slide this down. And then we're going to check until we have A. And then there's an A sharp. There's E. And there's an F. So if I'm flat, that means I need to bring the fret down more. If you're sharp, you don't want to have to slide it back because then you'll loosen it. So there it is. Tuned. And that's how you tie a fret on a vihuela.